I was halfway through finalizing a design brief when my phone buzzed across the counter. Mom flashed on the screen. I hesitated before answering. "Hi, Claire." Her voice was unusually bright, almost giddy. I set my coffee down. "Hey, what's going on?" "Oh, just calling to share some exciting news. Mark and I are flying to Greece tomorrow." I frowned. "Greece?" "Yes." "Oh, and, almost forgot. We sold the lake house and your car. We needed the funds quickly, and honestly, you weren't using either. Anyway, everything's done, money's wired. We leave tomorrow afternoon. Isn't that amazing?" She laughed, carefree, like she hadn't just gutted years of memories in one breath. "Love you, sweetheart. We'll send photos." Click. I stared at my muted laptop screen. My reflection blinked back. 29 years old, sitting in a crowded cafe in Austin, while traffic crawled outside as if nothing had changed. But everything had. She said we. She meant her and Mark, not me. The lake house wasn't just a house. It was where Dad taught me to swim, where summers smelt like cedar and grilled corn. My car? A 1971 Mustang Dad and I rebuilt the summer before he died. Not sleek, not new, but ours. And now, gone. Casually liquidated like some old furniture. Closed my laptop slowly. No panic, no theatrics. Because I'd known this day might come. I'd planned for it. I drained the last sip of cold coffee, reached into my leather tote and pulled out a second phone. The one reserved for one contact. I dialed. One ring. "Claire Morgan," a calm voice answered. "She did it," I said quietly. "She sold the house. And the car." Pause. "Understood. Do we proceed?" "Yes," I replied, quietly. "All right, we'll start with the deed transfers. I'll call you in an hour." The line went dead. I slid the phone back into my bag, feeling the weight of what came next settle over me. Not like a burden, but like armor. Around me, life hummed on, espresso machines hissing, someone laughing by the window. No one noticed the woman in the corner, plotting a very different kind of vacation. No one in that cafe noticed that someone had just tried to erase me. But she forgot something. She forgot what my father taught me. How to prepare without noise, how to wait without warning, and how to protect what was mine before anyone else knew its worth. The envelope had been in the back of my dresser for 16 months. I'd moved it twice, once when I relocated to Austin, and again after New Year's, but I never opened it. I never even peeked. His handwriting on the front stayed sharp, steady. "And Claire, open this only when you're ready." The day he handed it to me, we were sitting on the deck of the lake house. I was 28 then, home from Dallas for the weekend. He poured black coffee into a chipped mug and slid the envelope toward me like it was nothing more than a grocery receipt. "Don't open it," he said, "unless something happens, and only when you feel it's time." I thought he meant something dramatic, like if he was ever arrested or diagnosed with something terminal. He didn't mention dying in the garage on a Wednesday morning while replacing brake pads on my car. That envelope became a silent shadow in my life. I kept paying property taxes on the lake house because I thought I was honoring his memory. I let Mom drive the Mustang because I thought it was the decent thing to do. But now she had sold both like they were yard sale leftovers. I laid the envelope on my kitchen counter. My hands were steady, but my chest burned with something I didn't have a name for. I slid a thumb under the seal. Inside were 5 documents. No letter, no instructions. The first, a notarized deed transferring the lake house into an LLC, dated 2 years before he died. The second, the Mustang, same thing. The next 2, rental properties I hadn't even known existed, duplexes in Dallas. And the last, an original certificate of organization from Morgan Holdings, LLC. My name, my address, his signature, his attorney's stamp, all airtight, all legal. I stared at the proof. My father had seen this coming, and he hadn't trusted her. I folded the papers neatly into a manila folder, pulled out my second phone, and dialed Milo. He answered on the first ring. She never had the right to sell any of it, I said. Which means, he replied calmly, we're not just defending, we're taking control. Let's start with the buyer, Grant said, sliding the sale documents across his steel desk. His sharp eyes scanned each page, then paused. Buyer listed as Harper Lane. I allowed the smallest smile. Not a coincidence. His brow lifted. This was part of my contingency, I said. Harper and I talked the week after Dad's funeral. Grant leaned back. Harper? Freshman year roommate. She's in real estate now. I kept my tone even. I didn't tell her everything. I just explained I was worried about manipulation and wanted to safeguard what little was left. If Mom ever tried to sell anything without legal authority, Harper agreed to act as the buyer, quietly. She'd hold it until I could fix things. Grant let out a low whistle, tapping the contract. So, your mother tried to sell property she didn't own, and the buyer is someone you legally empowered to protect your assets. He looked up impressed. That means we don't just have standing to reverse the sale, we can take her to court. I know, I said. He raised an eyebrow. But you don't want to? No, I shook my head. I don't want to humiliate her. I want her to understand, to feel what she did. Not as punishment, but as consequence. Court won't teach her that. It'll just give her something else to blame. For a moment, silence stretched between us. Then Grant set the papers down, folding his hands. So, what's the plan? We freeze everything, I said. Quietly undo the transfer, move all titles back under Morgan Holdings, lock the LLC, notify the county. And when she comes back from Europe? He asked. I let the answer hang, cool and deliberate. She'll come home to nothing that belongs to her. She'll stand outside the life she tried to take from me. Grant gave a slow, admiring nod. And Harper? She keeps the deed a little longer. When Vivian tries to re-enter the house, Harper will be the one who says no. I don't want my name on the rejection. Yet. You really thought this through, he said. 2 years buys a lot of clarity. By noon, the reversal was already in motion. By nightfall, every property was secure. On my phone, a post popped up. Vivian in oversized sunglasses, Mark flashing a passport like a winning ticket. The caption read, "Time for our next chapter. Europe, here we come." I didn't comment. I didn't like her posts. Didn't react. She thought I was licking my wounds in Austin. Carless, stranded, defeated. That was the story she preferred. It probably helped her sleep. I let her have it. While Vivian and Mark sipped champagne somewhere over the Atlantic, I moved fast. Grant filed the reversal paperwork with Travis County. Harper returned the deed in a sealed envelope exactly as we planned. I logged into the Morgan Holdings dashboard and locked every asset under my control. Real estate, vehicle titles, rental income streams. The car was easiest. The title had never fully transferred. A few clicks and it was officially off the market. Mark had left the Mustang in long-term parking at Austin Bergstrom Airport. I arranged for it to be picked up, detailed, and delivered back to my garage. The lake house required more finesse. Grant drafted the eviction notice under the LLC, not me. Legally, my name wouldn't appear anywhere. Harper would be listed as the authorized agent when the letter arrived, 30 days after Vivian's scheduled return. Just enough time for her to unpack, take a deep breath, and then read the notice taped to the front door. I wasn't angry. That surprised me. I thought I would be. But what I felt was cleaner than rage, detachment, the kind that comes when you stop asking someone to be who they can. Dad used to say some people don't leave, they wait to be forced out. Vivian had always been one of those people. I used to imagine she'd come to her senses, that she'd realize family wasn't something you spend, but that was before I saw her name on forged documents. Before her voice chirped in my ear that everything I loved was already gone. They say revenge is best served cold. But this wasn't revenge. This was consequence. An education she'd delivered to herself. The day they landed in Lisbon, I made one last call to confirm deliveries. Then I took the Mustang for a long drive past the lake house she thought she owned, cruising into the Texas evening like nothing had ever been taken from me. She came back 4 weeks early. No warning, no call, just a knock on my apartment door on a Thursday afternoon. When I opened it, I barely recognized her. Hair yanked into a rubber band, designer bag warped from overstuffing, shadows carved under her eyes. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said my name, voice thin. Claire. If you want to see what happens when Vivian realizes the life she tried to steal isn't hers anymore, hit that subscribe button, because the next chapter will leave you breathless. Can I come in? Her voice was thin, almost breaking. I stepped aside without a word. Vivian walked into my apartment like she still owned the ground beneath her feet. Her eyes swept the space, searching for some trace of herself, even though she had never set foot here before. She stopped by the kitchen island, lingering like a guest who wanted to be more than a guest. I didn't ask why she came. I just filled the kettle. We sat in silence until the whistle pierced the air. When I placed a mug of tea in front of her, she wrapped both hands around it, staring into the steam as if it held answers. Mark left, she said finally, voice brittle. In Portugal, met someone on a boat tour, 23, a backpacker from Marseille. She gave a hollow laugh. Said he needed to find himself. Took the last of our cash and disappeared. I nodded once. Not in pity, just acknowledgement. I tried to book a flight home with points, she continued. But the account was empty. I had to borrow money from a stranger at the airport just to call the airline. And when I landed, she hesitated, her eyes shining with something sharp and small. I didn't know where else to go. There it was, the truth dressed in desperation. I let the silence stretch until it almost cracked. Then, softly I said, "Of course you can stay. Just for a little while." She blinked, startled. "Thank you, baby. I know I don't deserve it." I didn't argue. She moved into the guest room. I handed her clean towels, a key, and the Wi-Fi password. I didn't ask what she planned next. She didn't ask what I'd done since she left. Each evening, she cooked, clumsy attempts at meals from my childhood. Each morning, she washed dishes before I woke. I let her think this meant something. But I also kept notes, quietly. Every receipt she used my card for. Every borrowed call. Every contradiction in her stories. I wasn't building a case for court. I was building clarity. For me. Because forgiveness without truth isn't forgiveness. It's erasure. And I had spent enough of my life being erased. That night, after she went to bed, I opened the leather notebook I once used for client strategies and turned to a fresh page. I wrote her name at the top. I wrote the date she returned at the top of the page. She got the job herself. I didn't ask where she was going that morning, leaving in a borrowed cardigan and clutching a wrinkled resume. When she came back hours later, she set a folded paper on the counter. It's nights. Office cleaning. 2 buildings. Minimum wage. They said I start tomorrow if I want it. Then you should, I replied. That was all. The first week, she limped home with sore feet and tight shoulders. I left Epsom salts by the bathroom door. She didn't thank me. She woke before sunrise, dragging herself out quietly, as if avoiding the shame of being seen still in bed. It all felt a little too neat, the right kind of suffering performed at just the right pitch. But then there were moments when she forgot to act. One afternoon, I found her in the laundry room scrubbing the cuffs of her work pants by hand, though the machine sat empty. No humming, no posing, just focus, her mouth a flat line. Another evening, she sat at the kitchen table with a notepad, mapping out hours and expenses like she was building a life from dust. No audience, no narration. I didn't praise her, I didn't rescue her, that wasn't the point. Meals became simple. Lentils, rice, canned vegetables. She ate every bite, no longer pushing her plate away like someone used to excess. Sometimes she spoke of applying for a second job, of taking GED prep classes, of once wanting to study interior design before things got complicated. I didn't ask what complicated meant. She didn't explain. We weren't mother and daughter then. We were 2 women in a room, where neither held the upper hand. Something shifted when she stopped asking for it. She never mentioned the lake house, never asked about the Mustang. Maybe she assumed they were gone. Maybe she knew better and chose silence. Silence has its own gravity. It either pulls you closer or teaches you to hold shape without apology. One night, passing her door, I heard her crying softly. Not loud enough to be heard, not loud enough to be comforted. Just the sound of someone deciding whether to rebuild a life with bare hands. The second envelope was smaller. I'd almost forgotten it existed until I found it behind an old photo album in my desk drawer. No label, just my name in Dad's careful handwriting. Inside was a USB drive and a single folded page. His words. If she ever returns, and if she tells the truth, give her the rest. But only if you're ready to see all of it yourself. I plugged it in. No videos, no letters, just files, ledgers, scanned legal docs, spreadsheets. A quiet forest of truth. The trust was real. Created 4 years before Dad died. Tied to an account in Wyoming, hidden under a shell company. I was sole beneficiary. The house, car, rentals, they were crumbs compared to this. Then I saw the note buried deep. A denied withdrawal attempt 2 years ago. Vivian's name. A forged signature. She'd tried. Even before the funeral. I printed the essentials. Trust documents, the forged claim. A summary listing every asset now legally mine. Then I wrote, not a speech, not a threat. Just a letter. Not to her, but to the truth. When I finished, I sealed it and set it beside her teacup. The drive to the lake house was silent. She didn't ask where we were going until the gravel crunched beneath the tires. Her breath caught when she saw it. The pale siding, the old porch swing, the wind that smelled like salt and pine. Inside, she moved like a ghost, paused by the chipped teapot she'd once bought at a yard sale, stared at Dad's photo on the bookshelf, his grin wide over a fish he'd caught that summer. When she sank onto the couch, I placed the envelope in her lap and left. From the hallway came the soft rip of paper. Then, nothing. Then the sound of breath breaking, followed by sobs that came in waves. She didn't deny it, didn't defend, just looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time, not as her daughter, but as the ledger she could no longer rewrite. You have a choice, I said quietly. Leave with dignity, or stay, not as my mother, but as caretaker. This house will become a retreat for women who were erased. Vivian nodded once. I want to hear from you. If you were in my place, what would you have done? Would you have given her another chance or walked away? Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what lesson this story teaches you about trust, boundaries, and second chances. And if you believe in reclaiming your voice after being silenced, hit that subscribe button so we can keep building this conversation together. Let's make sure none of us ever feel erased again.